Hey everyone, are you a tech programmer in your day job, but secretly inside you have a burning desire to do your own tech startup? You may have tried in the past, but you've ended up failing for various reasons. Well, I'm Matt, and I'm 35 years old, and I'm now doing my own tech startup. And I wanted to share with you advice on how I am achieving my personal goals and what I found really helped me do that. So, number one is that I'm coming from a mindset of bootstrapping. I quit my job and I saved quite a long time prior to quitting, and I did it with the intention of bootstrapping my startup. And I found this to be a really good way to very intentionally build a startup, because when you quit your job and you lose the security of the paycheck, it's very motivating to be successful. And without the comfort of the paycheck, you release those emotions of drive and commitment to the project that you're working on. So, number one is, in order to do that without being too reckless, you need to create a financial stability for yourself to a degree whilst you're working on that startup. So that obviously involves saving as much as you can and foregoing those pleasures of eating out and buying lots of tech stuff or buying a car whilst you're working, and saving for the goal that you really want to do, which is building a tech startup. Um, and you need to do that long enough so that you accrue enough savings, probably in the order of magnitude of maybe even like a deposit for a house. You'd have saved enough for that, but instead of getting the house, you're building your startup. Um, and once you've done that, then you need to get your mind and body in shape, because what you're about to experience through building a startup is going to really test every part of your mind and body. Building a startup is no joke. If you're really going to do it, you have to throw yourself in with both feet, and preparing yourself with a good mind and body will really help keep you motivated and sane. Um, so, because you'll end up actually going to work probably a lot harder than you did in your normal job. If you're a tech programmer, I feel like we actually have a really easy time. Being a tech developer, we get a lot of comforts of being in an office or even working remotely, and it's very low stress. And a lot of the things that are given to us are already prepared in an easy to fulfill way. So maybe the ticket that we're working on or the bug that we're fixing has gone through a whole process before then, and we're just there to sort of code the solution. Not taking away that it's not a hard job, but I do feel like it's not so difficult. But building a startup, on the other hand, requires more skills than simply programming. You're going to have to exercise different parts of your personality and brain to really achieve a successful product. So doing as much reading as well as possible, or watching YouTube's videos on advice from people who are business leaders is really helpful. And getting your mindset changed from being a developer to a business owner or product manager, as well as being a coder, is really important. So once you've got your mindset, and you're shifting away from being a coder to a business owner, I think you also need to have the approach of not having fear, because fear is a really big demotivating emotion. It stops you from pursuing your goals. And there might be all sorts of things in life that make you fearful. And you really have to protect yourself against getting in fearful mindsets. So try and be as unreasonable in your expectations as possible, because that will actually shield you from the fear. And the next step as well is just not considering failure as an option. Don't plan for it. Don't plan to be unsuccessful. Plan for being successful, because that will also keep you away from the fear. And don't get me wrong, because I experience fear and consider failure all the time along building startups. But then at the same time, what I really try to do is remain unreasonable and remain unfearful, and because that stops me from quitting, really, because quitting actually is the main killer of a startup. It's the only real killer of your startup, because once you've quit, you're no longer working on the thing that you wanted to build. So you got to build yourself up enough so that you don't quit. And the next thing as well, I really think is, you probably heard this before, but if it's not too crazy or big enough, then it's probably not worth doing. So you got like, I really like taking on a big challenge, because it motivates me more actually to build it. If it was too small or too kind of boring, I'll end up getting bored of it myself. But if I've got like something really meaty and very exciting to work on, with lots of technical challenges and lots of interesting avenues to learn from, then I'll end up being actually more motivated. Um, but at the same point of this, actually, is even though you've been incredibly unreasonable, you haven't got any fear, it's a super crazy idea, you also need to try and release as early as possible. So I've definitely been guilty of this in the past with my own work on my startup, with not releasing as early as I should have done. But what I have found is when I do release, it really does speed up the momentum for your startup. Getting feedback from your users, and getting sort of validation of your product fit is really important. So planning releases, getting the mindset of I'm releasing at this time is very helpful. And yeah, so that's the first step, that I think every person who's approaching a startup, who's bootstrapping, needs to consider these things as what they should do when they're doing the startup. I hope that really helps, and I'll try and produce some more videos about this topic.